If you ever find yourself in a bookshop and you go to the travel section, you'll see lots of books labelled the top 100 places to see before you die, the top 10 places to see before you die. Well, if you happen to open up any of those books, they'll normally have a section which has, you know, these incredibly scenic places to visit. But in everybody's top 10 worldwide, the Icefields Parkway always makes it onto that list. If you make a decision in your head that you want to go and tour, you know, the Great Northwest, one of the places that will constantly come up is the Icefield Parkway, which is where I am now. It stretches between Banff and Jasper, and you know, takes you on these roads in through the Rockies. But that shot there with a zoom lens, you'll see on the cover of almost all of the brochures for an organised tour. If you get the weather, this is I'm lucky enough that this is my 4th time here, but 2 times it's been raining and 2 times it's been fantastic, and this is the 2nd time, and it's been amazing. But if you don't get the weather, you don't see the mountains, you don't see anything. But when you do get the weather, it's an absolute knockout. It's roasting hot too. There's nothing worse than talking to the camera with the thing on pause. But if you follow my finger, that's the glacier which moved down through this valley, created the valley. Billions of tons of ice and stone and sand, all just mushing all these mountains, carving this, you know, characteristic arc through it. It's gorgeous. The mad thing about it is, you're parking over on the side of the road here, and this guy's driving by at 70 miles an hour, and you're there going, where are you in a hurry to? Pop the thing down to 2nd gear and just cruise through it. There's no rush. You may never be back here. You don't need to be doing it at 70 miles an hour. This is Lake Louise, by the way. It's grossly overcrowded. Like the parking lot there, it's about a 10-15 minute queue to get into it. And most travel writers, when you read the books, they talk about the things that make a place, make you want to go to them in the first place, eventually kill it. Because what would stop you coming here is, you know, thousands of people being here and it been too crowded. When actually the beauty of it is the serenity and, you know, the glacier and the incredibly blue water. The great thing about this part of Canada is that even if you do want to get away from it all, there's still loads of places that you can go. You know, this area is so vast, you only have to walk about a 1/4 mile off the beaten trail and you can get to a location, something like this, and be completely on your own there, which is kind of the point. Unless of course you like hanging out in crowds looking at glaciers. Crowds in general, not my thing. Sweeney Todd. I know it sounds a bit sad, but that's more my thing. Walk the plank. Lovely. Mount Everest next. It's always a bit more ropey walking down than it is up. Down an ice sheet. Columbia Glacier. It's going to be hard to forget this place. I mean, I'm after hiking, I could tell you 2 miles, but a good, I'd say, 1/2 mile up the glacier there. It's actually amazing. You would think the view would actually improve, but because the scale of this is so massive and the valley is so low below, the valley is kind of unchanged, but actually looking up it's most impressive. Coming down on this ice, there's very little grip on these boots. Nice, huh? I tell you, if you had a shower of that water, your nipples would be like tractor starters. Huh? That'll wake you up in the morning. It's like that message there is written just for you, isn't it? Protected for all people, for all time. So, it's still here for you. Sweet Jesus. Will you look at this place? You must be wondering, what did I do in a previous life to deserve to see something like this? The only thing I'm very nervous about is bears. I'm probably oversaying that, am I? But fuck yeah. Seen about 3 or 4 of them today, and they're all feeding on these. I think they're juniper bushes or something. No, juniper bushes is from The Life of Brian, isn't it? They're my juniper berries. No, bushes with berries on them. Put it like that to you. But I mean, you want to see them go through a full bush. Just make sure there's no full bushes of berries here. Do you see that plant? That plant is called Achillea millifoil. Do you see it? Lovely white flower. Has a nice smell off it too. But you see the way the leaves have, there's thousands of leaves on it. But what it means is Achillea millifoil means 1,000 leaves. But the legend of this plant is that Achilles used it in battle. When you squash it up, it becomes a healing plant. And when Achilles was supposed to have used this to heal thousands of men after a battle in ancient Greece. So that's why it gets the name Achillea millifoil, which is a great story, a great plant. Now, you can buy this in Ireland, but it really struggles to grow, and it grows by the side of the road here. It's lovely. Now, you thought it was just a Clondalkin gobshite, but we've already talked about willow herb and Achillea millifoil. More than your average motorcycle documentary. So it's probably time to stop taking pictures of the Icefield Parkway and just start moving on again, start moving south towards the, I don't know, I'm not sure when I'm going to stay tonight. But anyway, start heading towards the Montana border and see what happens. But you could stay here all day. You could stay here for weeks and weeks. You know, and I guess if you even came here in the winter, it'd be completely different again. Why would you? You know, I can really see why, you know, people just come here and stay here forever. I met a German guy who comes here for 6 weeks every year. I met him in the Yukon, but what he actually does is he goes and hikes out into the middle of nowhere and canoes out there for 6 weeks and stays there all by himself. There was a time when that would have seemed like hell to me, you know, been on my own for that length of time. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, or maybe because I've just changed as a result of travelling. All of a sudden I can start to appreciate something like that. The Icefields Parkway is a road that travels 140 miles between Jasper and Banff. You'll often hear it said in life that we pass this way but once. But let me give you the most heartfelt, sincere piece of advice I've ever given anybody. Do the Icefield Parkway twice. So here's what you want to do. The first day, go through it, take all the pictures you need, and you're going to burn about 16 megabytes of pictures on this place because it is incredible. But then the next day, do it again, but this time just ride it. Just ride the whole 140 miles and absorb the place into you. I promise you, you'll never ever forget the experience. And it's one of the few places on earth that lives up to the hype. There's one thing being on the bike all day does you, and it's give you an awful throat. You need to go up here. Never get drunk now. That's just 2-3 beers, just perfect. Deliberately not bringing up the bike, just in case the temptation is to ride at home, back to the motel. You find yourself with a day to kill. Banff is a great place to spend it. You'll spend a fair few quid here because it's pretty expensive too. But this museum is fantastic, and there's another great museum just down the road, the Freemason Museum, if you really want to, just have a look at something a bit weird. That's a great place to spend a half an hour. I think the town council were going to force them to shut it down unless they turned it into a museum. So they open the doors at 9 o'clock every day and you can walk in and take a look around. It's really good to help you kind of demystify the whole thing in your head, because I suppose with all the Dan Brown book and whatever other Freemason folklore is out there, it's good to just get in and have a look at it. Just kind of, no, that's all it is. Okay, fair enough. You don't want to knock that stuff because, they say the Freemasons control a lot of the powerful positions. If they could ever get out on YouTube, you might never get a job again. But the great thing about this place is all the art is to do with the area. It's all mountains, all sits perfectly in this area. It's all the wildlife that you can see, and it's all the artists have done a magic job representing the colours that you see when you drive through it, which is the really hard part. So, magic place to spend a couple of hours. These are the archive rooms in Banff in the History Museum here. There's a fantastic gallery that side, just full of gorgeous pictures and paintings of all the wildlife and everything that this part of the world has to offer. But in the archives here, it's lots of pictures of Indians and the early frontiersmen, and I think this bit is far more interesting. I think the photos dating back there from 1875, and you can just leaf through them, and it has all it's fantastic stuff. The only thing is, you'll see that you have Indians in full headgear, and it's on 1920, 1930, and the mad thing about it is it brings home to me the Battle of the Little Bighorn, which was in 1876, and I'm really looking forward to getting down and seeing that place. But it wasn't that long ago. 1930 is not that long ago. When I think about it, it seems like 300 or 400 years ago, but it's less than 100. It's extremely unlikely you'll ever visit a more beautiful place in the world than this region. Canmore, Banff, Jasper, and the roads connecting them are without a doubt going to be a highlight of any trip. So when you're going to do the planning, make sure you allot the time. Give yourself 4 or 5 days in this region, because believe me, there's an awful lot of places which you can burn through which aren't particularly good, and when you remember back in the trip, they won't even add up to a second's worth of memories. You want to make sure your brain is absolutely full of the things you can see in this region. The Rockies are part of a mountain chain that extends all the way from Alaska to the southern tip of South America. As you start to travel south, invariably you'll find yourself meeting them over and over again. You'll find yourself going into prairies and then coming back into the Rockies, come back out to prairies and back into the Rockies. But the most dramatic thing about them is that they shoot directly up out of the flat ground. There's no transition. It's flat land and then mountains. The head. Motorcycle helmets, I tell you. As soon as they make head and shoulders for lads who wear motorcycle helmets, I'm going to be the first lad in the queue. What you can see here, way off in the distance, is the Rockies. And this is the end of the Canadian prairies. It's one of the most striking things about the Rockies in Canada is that the prairies which are just incredibly flat, as flat as the eye can see for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, that they all of a sudden, out of completely and utterly nowhere, they sweep up into the Rockies, which hopefully you can just see over my shoulder there. That's one of the things that makes the Rockies just so utterly spectacular. Much like the Alps in Europe, if they don't sit on a high plain, they just jut up out of the landscape, and that's what just makes them so incredibly striking. There's a lot of mountain ranges around the place which are sitting on a high plain, and you're up really high and that mountain appears to be high, but a lot of these peaks are 5,000 meters just coming straight out of the ground. See that down there? That is sunshine after a shitload of rain, and you can actually see the Rockies in the distance. But in between there, between me and them, is a shitload of rain. I can actually see it sheeting down. See it there? See, I'm so vain. I need to be in the shot as well as all this stuff. That's vain. You're so vain. I bet you think the song's about you. You're so vain. I bet you think the song was about you, don't you? But look at this view. This is just something we don't have in Ireland. I mean, we have nice fields and we have green and all that sort of stuff, but we don't have that yellow. We might have one field where, you know, Farmer Brennan has an old field of barley or a field of wheat, but we certainly don't have anything like that extending off into infinity. It is, oh Jesus, it's amazing. I love it. So this is Waterston Park, Waterston National Park in Canada. It's the last piece of Canada you'll see before you cross into Montana in the United States of America. And Canada has turned on the weather in a big way. Blue skies, gorgeous sunshine, beautiful breeze. You know, at times it's been very harsh, but all of a sudden, just when you're leaving, it really turns it on and says, are you sure you want to leave? Because things are pretty good here at the moment. You can see here where the mountains, these are the mountains, and Waterton Park is famous for, well, I suppose its signature byword is where the mountains meet the prairies. And there's an equivalent set of prairies obviously in Montana, but there's also a huge set of prairies in Canada, from Saskatchewan the whole way over to Calgary. Well, actually pretty much everything from Thunder Bay the whole way to Calgary is just incredibly flat farmland. But every day you get the opportunity to see something completely new. Something else gets the opportunity to really kind of fill up your mind, body and soul with all this incredible imagery around you. And I think that's the best thing about the trip actually, is that each day you have that new opportunity to be dazzled. When you're at home every day you get to go to work and everything is the same, and sure, you know, take on a new job, take on a new role, and that's how your life changes, and maybe your family or you go visiting or something like that. But on this, every single day it changes. You can't beat that. Border? Dead handy, Canada, USA. But I can think of some of the stuff I did in Central America, it's beyond belief. It's great to be through.